Welcome, my friends. This is LatiNationFutbolClub, and I'm right here with Nik Z and Chiva Mayor. I'm your host, Marcelino Ortiz, and we are excited because tonight we have a banger of a show like every week. And first of all, we have to welcome back Nik Z to the studio. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man.
Quite the
Jet
tour.
lagged. I'm tired, but I'm good to go. I'm ready. Let's do
Nick
it.
was.
I don't know where I am right now. What city is this?
This is Los Angeles, California, my friend. Nick was in Monaco, Rome, Kazakhstan,
Azerbaijan, Turkey.
That is right. Covering for LatiNationFutbolClub.
Yeah.
Excellent coverage of Champions League. But this week we're talking about something else. This week is all about Liga MX playoffs, all about MLS playoffs, NWSL playoffs, and a little bit of the international window because there will be new qualifiers for the World Cup this weekend, my friends. But what about we start with Liga MX, my friends, because the things are exciting. First of all, I want to make a special mention today to my Pumitas because they sacaron la garra este fin de semana. Controversial, yes, some people say Carrasquilla, asesino, but I'm saying we are in the play-in y que se cuiden los cholos, my friends. What do you guys think? Pumas has what it takes to do a Cinderella run?
Let's be honest, I don't think so. But I think they made it. They qualified in the play-in. It's not easy to go to the play-in. De panzazo. Sin Yolanda, para los que andan diciendo, que they shouldn't advance and that Carrasquilla should have gotten a red card, blah, blah, blah. Pumas is there. Yep. Now they have a chance. But I honestly don't think they're going to advance to the Liguilla.
Yeah, I wouldn't put anything against them. You never know. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What is Pumas' number one biggest strength going into this next round right now?
Belief. Pumas right now have a crazy level of belief. Not only that, they have a great team. They have experienced players starting at the goalkeeping position. Keylor Navas is the best player of CONCACAF. Probably in the history of the tournament. He has won everything with Real Madrid. He has been in the later stages of the World Cup. I mean, we have him. And Carrasquilla, that we can see, we saw that he's a fundamental player that is able to produce, not only on one end of the field, but on the other one too, because he was the one that made that breakthrough run to get the penalty for Pumas to get in the game. And then obviously that final goal. La garra universitaria right there. That's what will happen.
Mira, Marcelino, but on the other hand, let's not forget about the fact that they have no forwards. Unfortunately,
right.
JJ Macías, a player that is coming back from several injuries, sadly, this past game, again, turned ligaments in his old knee. And now they don't have any forwards. And that's one of the main reasons why I think it's going to be very tough for Pumas to advance the Liga.
You don't need forwards when you're living on a prayer.
Now, let's move on to another game that is part of the play-in, that is Juárez versus Pachuca. Pachuca, a team that is one of the most advanced teams, that they have the biggest infrastructure of the Mexican teams, facing one of the newest teams, a team that is the Casa, because we have all the home games for Juárez here on LatiNation, but they're going to have a hard game. But I like the team. I like Juárez. They have Pizarro. They have Murillo. Murillo scored a banger of a goal, not to go, boom, cabecita right there on the first post. I loved it. So I feel like Juárez might have the edge on this tournament. They're playing at home, and they play really well against Tigres. They play really, really well against Puebla, although they dropped points right there on that game. Chiva, do you think Juárez makes it to the La Fiesta Grande?
Look, to add to your point about Juárez, now let's talk about Pachuca a little bit. Pachuca is struggling a lot. Jaime Lozano got kicked off from Pachuca as a general manager after qualifying to the play-in. Yeah, it's the play-in, it's not Liguilla, but he still made it to the play-in. Now, I do see Juárez advancing because I think Pachuca is going through a lot of struggles. For the first time in a long time, there was no players debuting for Pachuca. No youngsters play for Pachuca in this season with Jaime Lozano, and I think that's something that is going to affect them right now and in the future, and that's why they changed coaches. So I think Juárez definitely is going to advance, and they're going to make the Liguilla.
Now, Nick, let me go with you because I know that you like Monterrey.
That's right.
And I hope you don't like America. But we have America versus Monterrey, another key game that is already defined. That's a game that is already on the Liguilla. ¿Cuál es tu gallo?
All right. Right now, I'm going to, because I don't want to ruffle any feathers over here. No, I genuinely believe Monterrey is looking really good. America is America. right? All right, they're strong, they're solid. Again, they also have that infrastructure that you mentioned with Pachuca as well, fan base, the history, they have the whole package. But Monterrey, I don't know, I'm getting a good feeling about them as long as they could stay strong in the back. They've been conceding a lot of goals, even with Mr. Ramos back there. Still, their record on that's not so great. So if they could stay strong in the back, I think they're going to do great against America.
Now, Chivas, I know that you've been waiting to talk about this. Chivas coming at the Liguilla with one of the best momentum that we've seen in, I don't want to say that a decade, but it might be a decade, Chivas, that we see that Chivas looks like a contender. Chicharito is awakening at the right time, and you guys have the most promising young player, the young forward in all of Mexico. Talk to me about how excited you are for Chivas to just witness how Cruz Azul la Cruz Azulea.
I mean, let me tell you, man, super happy about what is happening with Chivas. 7 out of the last 8 games they have won. And the one they lost against Querétaro, they should have won that game. Now, they closed the tournament playing versus Monterrey with Sergio Ramos, Carlos Salcedo on the back. They were able to score 4 goals, and 2 of them were very important. The first one, La Hormiga González, finally after years, a Mexican goleador. It's a top of the scorers, tied with Paulinho from Toluca that has won it 3 times in a row. But we got Hormiga, 22-year-old, that is getting there, that is a forward. And I say like this because it's hard to see that in Mexico. Now, it's for Chivas, of course, but I think the best moment of the game was to see, and I get chills, to see Chicharito score after a long time, almost 8-9 months without scoring for Guadalajara. But it's not about the goal, it's about the celebration, the fact that he kissed the crest and he started crying. And it was a very sentimental moment for all the Chivistas and people that love Chicharito, who has been a legend for Mexican football. Now, going back to Chivas, they are the best team. They're closing on their best. And I do see them making it to the final, even though we're gonna face Cruz Azul, a team that has been very strong, consistently strong for the past years. But come on, we always talk about La Cruz Azuleada, and this can be one of the biggest Cruz Azuleadas of their history.
I mean, they just keep upping themselves at this point. Now, guys, Toluca waits for the winner of the play-in, and también we got Tigres waiting for an opponent. These 2 teams are the best in the competition, and that's why they get a bye week, if you will. But I feel like it's time for us to do the predictions. It's time for us to say who is going to be the ultimate champion in Liga MX. It's early, I know, but I'm putting you guys on the spot. Nick, you go first.
I'm still putting my money on, man, the top dogs right now. Toluca, looking amazing.
Yeah. What about you, Chiva?
How can I blame Nick for putting Toluca up there? Let me tell you this. This is what's going to happen, okay? Tigres and Chivas are going to play the final. Nick and I are going to be in Monterrey covering this game. And I think the champion is going to be Chivas because we need esa revancha from the last Tigres took away from Estadio Akron. So I see Chivas being the champion, believe it or not.
What about you, Marce?
Oh, I am 100% with my Pumitas. I feel like they're going to have a Cinderella story. They're going to beat Cholos first, and then they're going to go and take down Toluca, and then they're just going to fall one after the other, and Pumas are going to win up. To be honest, that's not going to happen, my friends. It's going to be a tough one, hopeful thinking. But the reality is that I believe that Toluca is going to take this tournament. I don't think anyone is playing at that level, but America, it's great at spoiling the party. It's great at spoiling the parlay. They know how to play the later stages of the tournament. So I believe that they survive Monterrey. Cuidado con las Águilas because they know how to play. And they will have a semifinal with Chivas.
Are you sure you're saying America is going to be the
I believe
Pumas?
No. I'm just being a journalist right now. If you ask me outside, I'm going to say Pumas all the way, no matter what. But I think Toluca and America are the ones that are best positioned to win this tournament. But my friends, don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to have more Liga MX Femenil, the players for NWSL and MLS. But also, we're going to talk about the possible teams that will qualify for the World Cup. These and more when we come back here on Latination Football Club.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from my, and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Nah.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away two of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
2.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs passed to buy and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15 and a half, like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, my friends. This is LatiNationFutbolClub. That's right. And we got Nik Z back from his travels and the expert on all things soccer, Camilia Ortiz. And we are excited, my friends, because right now we have to talk about the playoffs on National Women's Soccer League and also the playoffs on Liga MX, Nik. Exciting times. What do you think is going to happen on NWSL this weekend?
Easy question. What do you think is going to happen? Well, I think we're going to see some amazing football, no matter how you cut it. We've seen amazing games that are so close, so tight, and I think that's just only going to continue as this table gets smaller and smaller.
That's right. Camila, let us know, first of all, what was the most unexpected result of the weekend? I don't want to spoil it. I want you to drop it to our viewers, so please illustrate us what just happened on NWSL this week.
Okay, guys, that's a pretty easy question to answer. Kansas City versus Gotham. Guys, what happened? I feel like this was the upset of the entire weekend for me. Gotham coming out on top over Kansas City. Keep in mind, Kansas City was around 65 points, and I believe that Gotham was around 34. So that's almost a 30-point differential. And again, I feel like the beauty of playoffs in every single league, no matter you're playing men's or women's, that when it comes to the playoffs, nothing from regular season matters. And yeah, it was just amazing to watch.
Crazy, crazy result, my friends. Let's just refresh everybody's memory. Kansas City was number 1 in the standings. Gotham was the 8th place, the last one to qualify to the playoffs. They had everything against them, Nik. They were playing at one of the toughest stadiums in NWSL, against a team that had lost probably 1 or 2 games in the whole season. And then they come and they said, underdogs? We are not underdogs. We are them, Nik.
There is, every now and then, this beautiful moment in all sports, I think, as you just touched on, when the top team that's coming into the playoffs with a stellar record actually finds themselves under quite a bit of pressure then to perform and to be great. And then another team might walk in with zero pressure and just have a great night.
Yeah, absolutely.
While the guys on top, the ladies on top might have, felt like, oh God, I can do this, but then that pressure cracks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another important thing to touch on is what teams have the best players. Kansas City, we know, was relying heavily on their top player, could be the top player of the league, Chewinga, an incredible forward, scoring most of their goals, and was out injured for these playoffs. So it begs the question, how much are they relying on 1, maybe 2 players to make the whole team?
Clearly, they were relying on a lot on these players. But now, I cannot talk about NWSL without talking about a name, a big name. Marta, the GOAT, my friend, because this weekend she did what she does all the time, and she surprised the world with a 75-yard run in the 98th minute, proving that at 39 years old, she can still hang out with the 20-somethings that are trying to defend her. She gets the penalty kick and get Orlando, a team that was struggling a lot, Camila. You and I, we were discussing throughout the season how Orlando, after being the champions, were not performing, but maybe they're firing cylinders right at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. We were honestly giving them a lot of trouble for not being able to perform that well in the last couple games. I think a match like this really just showed, hey, we're still the reigning champs, so we're still here to play, and players like Marta can compete against the 20-something-year-olds from Seattle and, if I'm being honest, dominate.
Marta is Marting.
Yep.
Marta is Martin. Now, another team that is surprising everyone is Portland Thorns. Camila, talk to us about them.
Yeah, actually, I know Nick knew a little bit about the Portland Thorns and San Diego game, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, really good match, very tight, very, I want to say, cagey. It was like both teams going at it. They were hitting the woodwork quite a bit, but I don't want to give all of the credit to the posts. Both keepers were doing absolutely amazing to keep that scoreline at 0 until the very end in the final minutes of the game. Man, Portland just kind of squeezing ahead. That must have been really tough for San Diego. But I do want to say something about San Diego specifically. I mean, this is a squad that, first of all, to have made it this far is quite a feat for them. And, you know, they don't get a lot of that hype, that financial backing, let's say, that other squads like Angel City might have. And they went pretty far, and they really showed out. And, you know, had this game gone a little bit differently, it'd be them going on. But unfortunately, it didn't go their way that night.
Amazing, my friends. And with that, we wrap up our update on National Women's Soccer League, my friends. But now it is time to talk about Liga MX Femenil, because they are also fighting for that championship. The playoffs are on their way, Camila. And we saw one of the games that I liked the most, the series, that it was a local series for LatiNation, was Juárez versus Tigres. These two teams that clearly were in disadvantage. Kind of a similar story with Kansas City and Gotham, but the script was completely different. Tigres was able to make it, but Juárez, the surprise, holding Tigres, a team that was averaging 6 to 7 goals per game, or maybe not so much, but maybe 4 to 6, just was able to score one time in 180 minutes. What do you guys think?
It's surprising, especially when you look at the pedigree that Tigres have on the attack. Hermoso, Ovalle, I mean, in the league, if we look at the league, I mean, 2 of the top 5 scorers are from Tigres. And so for them to hold them, you know, is a pretty big deal.
And like you said, the goalkeepers, this weekend was all about the goalkeepers. The Juárez keeper kept everything outside of the net. Unfortunately, Tigres had, just that extra edge and experience, a little bit of la camiseta pesó un poquito también. Do you think Tigres has everything they need to make it to the final?
Listen, I have to say, I think so. I think this game against Juárez was a tester. Are they going to be able to show up when the playoffs come around? And hey, I think they did, and I'm expecting to see more energy coming from them in this upcoming week.
Now, we have some more other surprising results. We got Clásico Nacional in the semifinals of Liga MX. Chivas versus América. Saludos al Chiva Mayor. He's probably very excited to see las Chivas destroy las Aguiluchas. So much that we're not going to talk too much about Águilas. But the other surprising team, Cruz Azul.
Cruz Azul. I cannot talk about this enough. This was such an exciting game to watch. I mean, Pachuca coming in second place of the league, getting dethroned, losing 5-0 to Cruz Azul. I mean, mind-blowing. It was crazy to watch. And I'm excited to see how they face up against a team like Tigres in the semifinals.
That is correct, my friends. And with that, it's time to go on a break. But don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk all about international window and a little bit more about these great jerseys that we are wearing. We'll let you know everything when we come back. You're watching LatiNation Football Club.
we now have to figure out if they will be in the playoffs. They're the Super Bowl favorite and have shorter odds to miss the postseason as you and I sit here right now.
Right, but let me ask you this. Do you feel after this 5-4 record, 9 weeks, 10 weeks of the regular season, that their defense is as dominant as it was last year?
But the offense is better.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Fly Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
You want to throw $12, $13 million at Kiffin? That's always a possibility. Summerall, they lost the other night to, in that matchup to UTSA. Or do you go back to potentially the mad scientist and Nik Z and give him, complete control of the athletic department and see if he can turn it around? We'll see. But whatever they go, they're going to need a coach to hit the ground running.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
His daughter, she's on the OF.
Okay.
She's on the OF
is
now.
that right?
Yeah, she's on the OF
So he's got
now.
an OnlyFans daughter and a little son
who says he can beat Curry and LeBron.
And he's coaching a team that was down 72-0.
Keep that dude away from polite society.
Okay, brother, I'm with you. I didn't know any of that history.
Numerous Pops gotta go.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
And we are back here on LatiNationFutbolClub. My friends, I'm here with Nik Z and Chiva Mayor, and we are excited because it's time to talk about MLS playoffs. The road to MLS Cup is underway. We have 4 games and 8 teams, and the time for truth is here. My friends, let's start with the most obvious of the games and the one that we can just get out of the way quickly. Miami versus Cincinnati. I hope Cincinnati continues to be that dominant team and give them a second year without a championship para los Rosaditos. Nick, do you think that Messi single-handedly, along with the little help that the Pole is providing, gonna have enough to beat Cincinnati?
I definitely think they have what it takes to beat Cincinnati. When you watch Inter Miami play, as much pain as it brings, I think all of us here, they are a well-oiled, well-tuned machine. They win, they score, they pass with such ease, they dissect with such ease. And I just see them going through Cincinnati on to the next round. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, they have Messi, right?
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with that. But on the other hand, you got Cincinnati, the Supporters Shield winner, the team that has been consistently on top. And I do see Cincinnati, beating Miami. I know everybody wants Miami to advance and everybody wants Messi to win that MLS Cup, but it's not going to happen. I feel it. I see it. Cincinnati's a great team that is going to overplay Miami, not for one particular reason. It's one game only.
See, I think I'm being a journalist about it. You guys want Miami to go about as far as I want LAFC to go far. That's what it is. I think that's what
I love the segue, because now that we talked our piece about Miami, let's talk about the black and gold, my friend, the only LA team in contention for the MLS Cup, Nick. I don't know what to tell you. But the reality is that in front of them we have Vancouver, that we all, throughout the whole season, me particularly, I don't want to, Vancouver from the beginning was one of my candidates to win this cup. They have been increasingly, season after season for the last 5 years, improving, and I believe that they're going to be un hueso duro de roer for black and gold. Chiva, you're the expert on all things black and gold. Break it down for us.
I mean, I know the odds are in favor of Vancouver, and of course, they have the better record. They're going to play at home, but LAFC has 2 players that are changing the dynamics of MLS. Bouanga with the speed, with Sonny next to him. He's 10 goals in 10 games. He just came to take over MLS, and that's one of the main reasons why I think LAFC is going to advance over Vancouver. But yeah, they're a great team. They have Mueller. He's such a great player that has bring the level of their team up. but we also have Sonny, a player that comes in and joins a team that was already ya engrasadito to make a difference. And I believe, not because I go for LAFC, because I see the way they're playing, I see them advancing and making the MLS Cup.
One of the most interesting connections in this game is Tristan Blackmon, Defender of the Year and former player of the Black and Gold. He had all of his development, pretty much. He learned it all from Bob El Constructor, Bob Bradley, when he was the coach for LAFC. And Tristan Blackmon was, one of those players that little by little got a lot of minutes. Then he went back to Vancouver and really blossomed into this top defender. Now, if you asked me 5 years ago if Tristan Blackmon was going to be one day Defender of the Year, I would have laughed in your face. I'm glad that he improved that much, and now he's, in the path of becoming a legendary player for this, and also getting national team call-ups. There we go. Now it's time for us to finish this segment, but we can go without our predictions. Nick, who takes it all?
Takes it all? Cinderella story. San Diego FC.
I love it, my friend. Chiva?
LAFC.
I am with the Black and Gold as well. I think that Buanga, after, unfortunately not qualifying for the World Cup today, Nigeria beat Gabon 4-1 and eliminated them from contention. So now, cuidado. Buanga will be 100% focused on winning MLS Cup, and you don't want to feel the revenge that he's going to bring to MLS.
Because I've been out of town, can I just say that, I've been out of town since the season ended. Can I just say that I'm so happy that LA Galaxy did not finish last?
Congrats, by the way. That wooden spoon trophy.
That was yours for so long, and at the very end, they were snatched. Now, let's just say before we say goodbye, Nick, what are you expecting for Galaxy for next season?
Absolutely nothing at this point. I'm just happy that we didn't finish last. I'm hoping that we can get our star players back and sort of just rebuild without this pressure anymore of having been the champions of last season like we did this time around. The whole front end of that season was, oh my God, last season was so great. When are we going to turn this around? Okay, put that behind us now. Let's rebuild, let's focus, and put any doubts to shame of who the best LA team is.
Well, I think we're going to be champions. So, but
of course,
it's time for us to go. This is the end of LatiNation Football Club. Thank you. Welcome back to Nik Z.
Thank you.
After a long absence, we are happy to have him back. Chiva Mayor, Camilia Ortiz was here with us earlier, and we have to thank our friends at Charlie for gearing us up with these beautiful jerseys. Thank you. Follow us on socials at LatiNationFC, and come back every Friday here because you are the MVP of LatiNation Football Club. I am your host, Marcelino Ortiz, and I'll see you next time.
The rest of the wide receiver group is underwhelming. Kincaid's had some moments. They need a playmaker in the worst way this offseason. I know they keep trying to get it done or pick these guys off. Maybe Keon Coleman will be that guy. Maybe Josh Palmer will be that guy. It's not working. They haven't replaced Stephon Diggs, and it shows. And I think Josh Allen could use some help. So Buffalo Bills in the offseason, free agency, NFL draft, get yourself a big playmaker.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Now,
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Let me ask you this. If they brought in Belichick, you don't think that... Yeah.
Oh, of North Carolina?
Yeah, they're playing much better now.
I wouldn't let him coach my kids. I don't even have any.
I tell you what, they would be more disciplined than what they are now.
No, they wouldn't. They'd be lifeless.
Yes, they would.
They'd be lifeless.
Yes, Brian Dable is a gutless head coach.
Bill Belichick came off a bye against
gutless
Clemson.
head coach.
Replaced him. They gave him 150 yards.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Another sport like the NBA, which is dealing with its own, scandals, so to speak, and its own headlines with the FBI and what else comes, because this is the same FBI team that also brought the NBA scandals to light. So I'd have to imagine they're working on some other stuff as well right now, and the timing is definitely not a coincidence, but definitely some very significant news in the gambling world that now you're not going to be able to bet more than $200 on a specific pitch market.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.